So I've done 2 videos so far, and I just kind of realized that not a lot of people are familiar with Elliot Wave, or they probably don't understand exactly 100% what I'm talking about when I'm looking at the market and looking at the wave structures. So what I'll do is just explain a few interesting setups that you can see in Elliot Wave and that you can take advantage of. So it's a very basic lesson in Elliot, and I think it will help to look at the future price charts that I'm going to post and just see why stuff is happening and why price is moving the way it moves. So the basic structure of the Elliott wave is the impulse wave, and then you have the corrective waves, right? So the market moves in an impulse, and then the market corrects. Market moves again in an impulse, and then it corrects again. So I think I've read somewhere that markets only move in an impulse manner for about 30% of the time, and then about 70% of the time the market corrects or goes sideways. So a lot of traders just get chopped and tumbled around because the price moves sideways and basically corrects. If you learn to identify what's an impulse and what's a correction, you can kind of prepare yourself for the next move. So an impulse wave or a motive wave, it's made out of 5 waves. This is an impulse wave. And I'm going to show the lines. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are some basic rules that you need to follow in an impulse wave. Wave 3 can never be the shortest wave. So usually the way it looks is usually wave 3 is the longest. Wave 2 can never come below the start of the wave 1. Otherwise, it's not an impulse wave. Wave 3 is never the shortest. So these are some basic rules. Then you have guidelines, but I'm not going to go into all those details right now. So this is a basic structure that you see into price. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you know that wave is completely done. Sometimes you have extended waves, like wave 5 can be longer, wave 1 can be longer, but wave 3 can never be the shortest wave. So this is a basic impulsive structure. Then another impulsive structure is a leading diagonal, which looks this way. In an impulse wave that's here, wave 4, this wave here, can never come up in the territory of the wave 1. So this wave 4, you can never have it like that. Otherwise, it's going to say wave 4 terminates within the range of wave 1. So this has to be up higher. In a leading diagonal, this can happen, and the waves actually have to overlap each other. And this leading diagonal usually happens in a wave 1. So you can basically take this whole structure and put it up into wave 1. And if I go here and I decompose this, it can decompose it as a leading diagonal right here. So this can be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You take the structure and you move it in here, and that would be a leading diagonal in wave 1. You don't have a leading diagonal in wave 5, or in wave 3, but what you can have is you can have an ending diagonal, which is usually in wave 5. So these are the impulsive waves in Elliot. I'm going to try to show the lines here. Okay, so if you learn to identify these, then you know what's coming up next, right? So after a 5-wave move in price, you are going to get a correction, and those corrections are ABC, and they look like that. I'll make the lines show. So when a lot of people see that they see head and shoulders, this is what it is, right? You have a 5-wave move followed by a correction in an ABC. usually after a correction, if your trend is up and the market keeps moving up, then you get another impulse and you go even higher. So then this first part here becomes wave 1, this becomes wave 2, this becomes wave 3, and it usually looks more extended. So you have an impulse and a correction. Okay, now these corrections, it becomes where the problem starts, because this can take many shapes and forms. The impulse waves are pretty easy, but the corrections, the ABC corrections, are complicated and they take a lot of different forms. So you can have a basic ABC, which we call a zigzag, where wave A equals wave C, and the price pulls back very easily. This usually happens in wave 2 of a structure, like in a wave that's down here. You can take this and put it here, and that would be a wave 2. You know, or they open, or they happen in wave 4. And there are different rules here that I'm not going to go into, you know, rules of alternation between wave 2 and wave 4. But this can be a basic zigzag correction, and then you can have a triangle, right? And this triangle usually happens in wave 4. It never happens in wave 2, or if it does, it's an extremely rare occurrence. And then you can have a double combo, which is a WXY, and I'm going to explain those later. But you know, basically what you have, wave W is composed of 3 waves. So you have ABC inside W, you have another ABC inside X, and then you have another ABC inside Y, and that creates a double combination. You can have a triple combination where you have WX, YX, Z. So this is where a lot of chop happens in the markets, and you have to be very careful with your choices of trades when this stuff starts to show up. You want to let these waves develop, and you want to wait until they're over before you can take a trade. Another one that's really basic is the double combination. It's the, I'm sorry, I think I've done this before. It's your basic, it's ABC correction. I don't think I have it in here. But it's basically an ABC correction that can be a flat correction. So for example, if you take this ABC here, what you do is you take this wave B, and if it's not a zigzag, it's a flat. So you go, you know, wave B retreats between 80 and 90% of wave A, and then you have wave C kind of comes here. So it's kind of similar to this, but this is a WXY, this is an ABC. And this is called a flat correction. And then what happens is you go and you start moving higher from there. Let me try to get the line here, and you kind of go up like that. All right, so that's a flat correction, and it's a regular flat. And then you can go in. Let me be done with this. And how do I do this? Excuse me a second. All right, I'm out. Okay, so you know, another variation of this, it's the expanded flat, where the waves B goes up and wave C comes down, right? And then you go up. You can start going up from here, or you have a running flat where wave B goes beyond the origin of this wave, but then wave C only comes down, and then you go up. And this stuff happens in bear markets and in bull markets. So I can go more in details into this waves, but this is basically just a simple basic lesson of what waves are and how the market moves and why a lot of people get chopped around. So if you learn to identify which one is an impulse wave and each one is a corrective wave, then you'll know how to position yourself for the next move in the market. All right, talk to you later.